Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. This is the Inspiration Engine. Let's get started. So I've been thinking for a while that it would be a good idea to start a channel that would talk about not just inspiration but creativity and how to do that. And that can actually cover quite a few things. I'm a writer and I have been, well, pretty much since the fourth grade, but professionally I've been doing it for about 15 years. And I've written all sorts of things from government proposals to marketing materials to corporate plans, all sorts of different things. I've also written a lot on my own creatively. I have several short stories published. I have a couple novels that I've been trying to get published. And the idea is that being a writer really has a lot to do with being a good storyteller. And they're kind of the same thing. The way I look at creativity is you can be inspired by pretty much anything. A lot of people wonder about where stories come from, where you get the ideas from, and how you develop that into something. Really, the point is stories are everywhere. You just have to think about where the story starts and where the story stops. You think, okay, what do I want to say? What do I want to do? Really comes down to what story you want to tell. It could be a slice of life, like somebody walking down the street, or it could be some kind of far off fantasy where there's mythical creatures and magic. What kind of story do you want to tell? What does it mean to you? What's the point of it? Because you think about it, there really isn't any original stories anymore. The basic ideas of every story has pretty much been told already. I know that sounds kind of cynical, but it is pretty much true. But what hasn't been told is stories from your perspective. And you can create that perspective. If you're the author and you want to create a character that tells a story from that character's perspective, give that character certain experiences, certain understandings, certain ideas, and then tell the story as if it's from that person. And that idea of a story, like I said, can come from anywhere. And that's just creative storytelling. There's a lot of other things that you could do that would help make a creative endeavor come true, like this channel. There's a lot of other people that do YouTube, obviously, and they have taken their ideas and they've turned that creativity into something that they can share with everybody else. It's not a book, it's obviously a video, but they've taken those ideas and they've used them to express themselves in a way that's very specifically from their perspective. So if you ever have a question as to where a story comes from or how you can tell a story in a way that is fresh, think of your perspective because that is unique. And when it comes to my stories and where I've come from, it's a really long journey. When I was in fourth grade, we were given a small assignment to write a short story and present it to the class. I think it took maybe 15 minutes for everybody to come up with something, and then we had to stand up in front of the class and read it to everybody, basically. Most people didn't like that, but being about, I think it was 8, 9 years old in fourth grade, I actually thought it was pretty great. I loved it. Wrote the story, read it. I don't even really remember what it was about, but I just remember that was something that really, really inspired me. That was something that really struck me personally. And I thought, this is something I want to do. And ever since then, I've done all sorts of things when it comes to creative writing. You know, pretty much everybody who wants to be a writer has tried things like poetry, short stories, uh, novellas, novelettes, the novel. But really, it comes to just doing it. I started writing stories, and obviously the first ones aren't that good, but I just kept at it. I kept doing it. I think I probably tried to write a short story every 2 months for probably a year straight. And this was back when I was in high school. And again, maybe they weren't that good, but I was doing it. I actually still have a couple of my old notebooks that have some of those handwritten stories in them. And I reread them. And the funny thing was that maybe the story itself wasn't really constructed very well, but the ideas behind it, the basic premise of the stories, were actually pretty good. And I actually did take a couple of those ideas and restructured them and pretty much start from the beginning and rewrote them. But the idea is those stories existed because I took the effort. So taking the effort to actually try is really where you're going to get the most benefit from it because you're not going to get any better if you don't actually make the attempt. And that's really the most important thing is making the attempt because you'll get better every time you do it. It might be infinitesimally small, but you'll get better doing it. Now, when it comes to sharing my stories, I followed the regular path that most writers do when they want to get published. You submit your short stories or poems to literary magazines. You submit your novels to literary agents, hoping that somebody will pick you up and get published. I've had some success with my short stories, and I'll link down below to a few of them so you can take a look. Most of them are printed in small presses. There's a few that are actually only available online. And that's a lot where the way it goes for most writers when they start out trying to do the traditional publishing route. I've written probably a dozen or so submittal letters for literary agents for my novel. And of course, I've gotten rejected. And that in itself is a regular story for most writers trying to get published, is that they get rejected multiple times. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've looked at it this way. I've tried it the traditional way and no success. But there are so many people out there these days that are self-publishing. Why not try that? Like I said, I've had people read my stories, and not just like friends and family who are going to say it's good no matter what. I've had actual professionals read my stories and they say it's good. So you could look at it trying to get published the old traditional way as kind of like a crapshoot and a luck of the draw. Statistically, maybe eventually you'll get somebody to accept it because it is good and you finally found the right person. But with the advent of self-publishing, especially Amazon, KDP, ebooks, there's so many opportunities now to get your stuff published. It's worth taking. Now, I know that there was a lot of people out there that just publish whatever. And they really maybe shouldn't take that effort because they haven't gone through the whole process of really learning revision, editing, revision again. Remember, the first draft's only purpose is to exist. It's a starting point. It's where you take what you've just done and you make it the best possible thing that it can be. It just exists for you to improve it. All right, but to be clear, when it comes to this channel, inspiration and creativity and all it requires to make something, I don't want to focus just on writing because there's a lot of different things that we could look at. There's a lot of different ways that we can take inspiration and creativity and turn it into something that can be shared. For this particular channel, I want to look at things for creativity purposes, but I also want to look at other things on how you can take action with something that you're interested in. For example, I'm starting to learn about KDP and all the things that Amazon has for print on demand and different things to get your things out there. Because like a lot of other writers, I'm tired of having my stuff just sit on my hard drive. I want to share it with people. So I've learned a lot. So I'm going to be talking about KDP stuff, but I'm also going to be talking about basic writing, ways to improve what you're doing and how you do it. But I also want to look at other things too. I'm really into movies. I'm really into books. I'm really into taking a creative spark and turning it into something. So we can examine a lot of those different things. So I'm going to look at all that sort of stuff, and different episodes are going to have different things we can talk about, and hopefully we'll learn some things and have some fun. So thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.